work at the University of Manitoba, and I teach a variety of different colleges. So I teach at the College of Medicine. I also teach dentistry, pharmacy, physiotherapists, respiratory therapists, everyone that would need an anatomy background. So I'm supposed to talk about how I got from where you're sitting today to where I'm sitting right now in my office. So I'm actually right now in the human anatomy department. Behind me are some of my Med 4 students. So they're busy working. I took a little bit of time away from them to talk to you guys because I think it's very important that you understand that no matter where you're from, it's doable to get where you want to be. So my talk is you never know what's around the corner. Just boop. There we go. So it all started when my mom and my dad and they fell in love, and then they had me. So I grew up in Thompson, Manitoba. I hear that there's a few people from Thompson, Manitoba, Artie Parker Collegiate. Hi there. Nice to see or look at some familiar names. So that's good. So I grew up in Thompson, but mostly we had a cabin in Woboden. So my grandma had a cabin in Woboden. And my grandma basically raised me. So my mom was a teacher and my dad was a lumberjack. My dad wasn't around very often, and my mom was busy working because she was the breadwinner of the family. So I grew up with my grandma, and my grandma was strict, but still fair. She spoke to me like an adult, so I feel like I've been an old soul for a long time, but I think that really helped me understand certain things, and I will give you a little bit of advice in different stages of my life that helped me get to where I am today. So, obviously, you can tell that I was a bit of a goofball. I always love to make people laugh, love the outdoors, love nature, love animals. And this is my grandma, me and my grandma. So believe in yourself. That's one of the things that my grandma really made sure that uh, I understood. You cannot rely on other people to make decisions for you. You have to believe in yourself. If you don't, no one else does. So you really have to figure out what you want to do, even at least if it's just like a little part. Like I was always interested in some form of medicine, either if it was going to be medical career, like as a doctor or research, or because I was never bothered by, let's say, like, I don't know, filleting a fish or when my uncles went hunting, that never bothered me. So I knew I was probably okay to do something along the lines that I am in now. So believe in yourself, major deal. Oh, yeah, this is my wolf dog. Sorry. I needed to show you some stuff that made me, because you'll realize that once you get a little bit older, that where you are isn't just about your education. It's a big part, but who you are at the end of it is also all your experiences that you get throughout your lifetime, the good and the bad. Okay. So this was one that made me really, really love nature still. This is my wolf dog. Her name was Shadow. She never barked, she always howled. So I love nature. Always be goofy. Around this age, like around 12, that's when my father left. So my mom and my dad split when I was 12 years old. So from then on, I was very much raised by my grandma. My mom had to work a lot more now because she had to make money. I wanted to go to university, but during the divorce, a lot of the money that was saved for my education went into the divorce and splitting costs. You know how that stuff gets messy. So she had to try and help make a future for me. And my dad was from Norway House Cree Nation. So I never really understood that side until later on in life. And I have that in my story too. So I was kind of a little bit of a loss. Like you always think that it's your fault that some of these things happen, but it isn't. And you really have to concentrate on now is your time. You guys are in high school and no one else is going to make your future. There'll be helpers, but you got to plan for your future for yourself. So yeah, that's me, and still being goofy. Um, oh, make time also for things you love. So when my dad, my mom split up, I was still in Thompson. Like I grew up, was born and raised all the way to like grade 18, 12, 18 years old. I had to make a little bit of money. And I encourage that. I encourage you guys to work. Definitely find a job, even if it's just volunteer. When you start working, it also plays a good part on how you're able to communicate with other people. And that's a big thing in a resume. So, working, getting experience with people, knowing how to deal with conflict, it's a really big deal. So, make time for things you love. Like I love drawing, so that's a little drawing of a chipmunk that I did. So I made a little bit of money with my drawing. I also taught piano and I taught gymnastics. I should have known like right from the start that I'd probably be a teacher at some point, but I was still so focused on science, on biology, on anatomy. That so interested me, but apparently teaching was also in my blood from the very beginning. I'm a very big follower of kind of like go with the flow. Whatever life presents you, you should probably try it out. Like I tried out anything that came through the door. I wanted to see what everything was like. So I made a little bit of money. So yes, when you do get a job, be there, be present. That's one thing that I think I wish I would have told myself when I was younger. Be present, like not just like be there, but like realize what you're experiencing, really take it in, because that will be gone in a split second. So when you get a job, make sure that you take everything in. I would also suggest that you start probably a resume, include all your volunteer work. I'm sure any of the teachers there that are with you would help you start a resume. Also, know how to write a nice email, a proper professional email from the very beginning, or a cover letter. That's always nice to get started on too. And then, whenever you get some volunteer work and stuff like that, you just add it into your resume. Then it's ready to go anytime that you would need it. Okay. So there's Artie Parker. That was my locker. I think they changed the colors of the lockers now. I think they're like white, but mine was orange. This is me on the left. I did not like physics. And it's okay. It's okay for you not to like a class, but I was never the type to give up on something, especially when I knew I needed it. Most jobs nowadays will require you to have a grade 12 education. And as much as I did not like studying physics, I knew that if I didn't do it, it would say more about me than the class. I didn't want people to think that I would give up on something because something's too hard. So I did it. And I graduated from Artie Parker in 2000. And I was okay. I wouldn't say I was like the top of my classes. I was more interested in other things like all all the outside world, fishing and drawing and stuff like that, but I still love sciences. So when I went to university, things kind of changed. So that's when I found out that my grandma got cancer. She had breast cancer, and I was supposed to go to Brandon University on my own. But because grandma had cancer, she decided that she would come with me, and I totally understood, so that I could take care of her because she was closer to a place where she could get chemotherapy. So she came with me. It was quite difficult. I was also experiencing the change from going from high school. Oh, I'm hearing something. Are you guys hearing something too?
Yes, I am. I'm on mute.
Okay.
Dr. Smith, maybe you're on mute, but we shouldn't be able to hear the students because we're in webinar format, but I was hearing something. But I'll go back on
Okay, so
mute.
that's not me. That okay. I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
okay. So I went from high school to high school is very the teachers really help you get things done. And oh yeah, I think Dr. Smith is not on mute.
Yeah, I think so too. Hi, Dr. Smith. I see you there. Sorry, guys. I'm wondering if you can look to the left and put yourself on mute. We're just hearing some rustling of papers.
Okay, I'll just continue. Okay, so you go from high school where everyone helps you. Well, not everyone. Okay, not, but you're expected to graduate from grade 12 with some help. So from grade 12 to university, that was a huge leap for me because good thing, they think you're an adult. Bad thing, they think you're an adult. So you have to make all these decisions on your own. You have to pick all your classes. You have to pick out when you're going to do these classes. And when I went to university was the time where you have to actually go in and select all the courses you wanted. So when I was picking all the sciences, I was like, I'm just going to leave out physics because I don't think I need physics. I'm not a huge fan of physics. But when you're trying to get a science degree, you still have to have most of the physics at least in your first year. So I ended up taking physics and not when I wanted to, like super early in the morning because everyone else had selected the afternoon physics. So I took physics class. But there's a reason why I think I ended up taking physics. Boop. This. I met my husband in physics class, first year physics class. So maybe there was a reason why I took physics class, but I wouldn't have met him if I hadn't taken it. So again, really big believer in life takes you where you're supposed to go, even sometimes if that means that there's a fork in the road, something there is supposed to happen. So I always was learning new things. My grandma was very good at sewing and cooking, and she even knew carpentry. So she taught me how to do the shingles on our shed and how to build the deck. I was always loving learning new things. And I think that keeps your mind pretty sharp just because you're always looking for new ways to do things. So I was going to university. Grandma was getting chemotherapy. She was doing okay. I met my husband. Yeah, first boyfriend. Because I had like viewpoints changed. My mind, I'm going to school. I'm not dating. I'm going to get a degree. I'm going to be like power woman, like super strong and just go forth and then, yeah, no. I met him and I couldn't help it. But I'm glad because he really helped me out with physics. He was a friend before he was my friend. And we did really well in school together. I always am a big believer also too to be yourself. Obviously, I'm a little kooky, just like even from when I was a young kid. This was really cool, the little dragon picture of me. So this was my first anatomy class. And again, I had a hard time with the study level and the education level. From where I was from to university, like just as an example, when I asked my husband, his name's Wesley, when did you first when were you first introduced to a computer? And he's like, well, grade 6. I was like, I was grade 12 and we're the same age. So there was a really big gap into what some of the southern schools are experiencing to where I was. So I had to do some extra work. So one of the extra work was we had to do a debate on the anatomy of dragon wings. So did you think the dragon wings were part of the arm, or do you think dragon wings are part of a totally different appendage? So that was fun. And then the bottom right picture, this is my first dissection class. So this is my group that we learned all about the anatomy and muscles and bones. Again, do that extra work as a teacher now. When a teacher gives you extra work, they're not trying to punish you. It's the only way that a teacher can do to give you a second chance. So it's the only way that they can make sure that you pass that class, that you have that extra work to push you a little bit further. It's not a form of you're bad and you need this extra work to prove you can do this. No, no, no. It's extra work for the teacher. They're just trying to help. So do the extra work. to be a good friend, you have to, or sorry, to have good friends, you have to be a good friend. You have to remember that. I was a little bit of a loner in high school, but then started making friends in university. Yeah. And then in university, when I was almost done my degree, we got engaged. And I was the one that asked him. It was a leap year. And I asked him, see, that's why he's wearing a ring. I didn't get a ring. He got the ring. So I just thought that I really like that. I was always that type of person. Also know when to ask for help. This lady over here, her name is Dr. Untrainer. She's from Brandon University. I had no idea that there was master's degree. At that time, I just thought you got a science degree and then you went into medicine. I didn't, like I did the MCATs, I tried it out. I didn't get an interview and I didn't know what to do after that. Dr. Untrainer ran a fungus lab. So we studied research fungus. And we also did yeast testings Fridays, yeast as in maybe beer, but I was old enough to do that. But she was a really big help. And she allowed me to look forward and still be myself. Like obviously I love dinosaurs, a little dinosaur in one of our research pipette things. What do I have here? Difficult does not mean impossible. So it just means that you have to work a little bit harder, but you guys can do it. You guys are here. So obviously the interest is there. You got to believe in yourself and just go forward. Those are some of the fungi agar plates that I did. It was a lot of work, but we did it. Graduated from Brandon University with a science degree. Finally, took a little bit of extra work. I had to take a year off and work at Superstore to make a little bit more money just because it was difficult. Grandma still was experiencing a lot of pain and stuff from the cancer. When life gives you a chance to breathe, take it. So I tried to get into a master's degree right away, and I couldn't do it for a year because they weren't accepting anybody. But that year was the year that I got to spend with my grandma before she passed away. So again, when life gives you some things, you got to really assess where you're going to. Don't force things. Be part of your experience. Don't try and make things work when it isn't working. And it's okay to fail, and it's okay to make changes along the way. I mean, it just makes you better for doing that. So that was the last year that she was alive. That was in 2007. Wesley and I got married before she passed away. We weren't planning on getting married right away because we didn't have a ton of money, but I wanted my grandma at least to be around when we got married. And then this is the last picture with her. So I just want to make sure that you see this little puppy here. So we always grew up with dogs. And this little girl, her name's Bijou. And grandma gave me Bijou before she passed away. And I just want to say sometimes darkness can show you the light. Without darkness, you don't know when the good points of your life are really coming up. Same thing with drawing, right? You can't really see a sunshine without dark shadows behind it. So there's always some good points. Know yourself. So after graduating, I got into my master's degree. This is my group of students from my master's. I did studies on SOD1, which is a protein for Lou Gehrig's disease, also called ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. When I say know yourself, I don't mind research. I love research, but I'm a people person. I love people, and being in the lab just with mice was thing. So even though I went through my master's degree, I knew right away that, okay, I love medicine. I don't mind research, but I need to be around people. So I did that, finished that, had a good time, traveled a lot with my research. I went to Chicago for neuroscience clubs and then graduated my master's degree. That was a lot of fun. Oh, okay. Yes. Say yes to work experience. Okay. From this, I went to Pan Am Clinic, which is a sports medicine facility. And I was supposed to go there to do a whole bunch of research on different types of surgeries. And one weekend, my boss asked me, would you mind doing a little bit of research on for this group on the weekend? And he didn't tell me what group it was. And I'm like, oh, it's on the weekend. Okay, fine. Yeah, right. I'll do it. You know, it's fun. all of us are going. And then I find out it's for the Winnipeg Jets. When the Winnipeg Jets were first coming back, we did the off ice testing for them. So that's me. Yeah. And there was the goalie before we had Helleback. But yeah, I would have, if I hadn't said yes to that, because they weren't going to exploit the fact that they were testing the Jets. So they just had said that I had work on the weekend. Was I willing to take it? And if I had said no, I wouldn't have experienced that. Same thing with physics class. If I would have said no, I wouldn't have met Wesley. So saying yes sometimes to things that you're like, if you feel a little too lazy, just try it out. So with that work, I got to go to Florida, got to go to San Francisco, a lot of different things. That's all paid for me because you're working with them and for them. When I was working at Pan Am Clinic, I really missed anatomy. So dissecting anatomy, teaching anatomy, because when I was doing my master's degree, I was able to TA for a little bit. So I wanted to get back into anatomy. And I asked one of my supervisors at the university, how can I get back? Like, I know that at the university, they're not taking anybody in right now. He's like, well, have you tried Wellington College? Wellington College is a massage therapy school. I looked into it and it was just like from my house, like I'd say 2 blocks away from my house. I'm like, perfect. So I tried it out, got the job. I really fell in love with teaching with this group. I worked there for about 8 years, doing all the basic anatomy, advanced anatomy, practical anatomy. My students were just the best. I had a really good time with them. But along the way, like I loved doing the anatomy for them, but I felt like something was missing. I knew the anatomy, but I didn't know what kind of anatomy they wanted out of the practical setting. So I'm like, well, they have a distance education program. So I'll take the massage therapy weekends to see how I can better teach them. So I became a massage therapist. This is also be weird. I love dinosaurs, and this is one of my graduating students groups. I dressed up as a dinosaur on their grad night. That was a lot of fun. So I became a massage therapist with this group. Don't burn bridges. I still was involved with Pan Am Clinic, even though I wasn't technically working there anymore. They would always call me up and if they had any labs. And because I didn't burn that bridge, I was able to take my students back to Pan Am to do some anatomy. So it's always good to keep things open, even if your life changes and you find a new job. Supervisors and bosses know this. It's just bettering yourself. So it's always good to talk to your supervisors that this is what you're planning and then move forward. And if it's really nice because most of them will be supportive. When you're going through school, don't judge, be kind. I really make an effort to, you never know what shoes someone's wearing and you've never walked through the same type of shoes. So that's very something that I keep in mind when I'm teaching my students. When they have a bad day, they don't have to tell me. It's okay. They are experiencing something that I'm not experiencing. Same thing when you're going through school and one of your friends does something, you're like, you just got to let it be. Like, that's their lives. You have to be in control of your life and don't judge the decisions other people make. So here I am graduating massage school. Yep, that was fun. So I still teach massage therapy sometimes, but I'm also a massage therapist on the side. I do jaw work for a physiotherapy clinic, sometimes on the weekends and evenings, while I have a full-time job at the university still teaching. This is give and take second chances. If you're a person throughout life like me, who I've always, if I've failed and I wanted to do it again, or I didn't do the best that I could do and I want to do it again. If I'm taking those second chances, you should also be a person to be allowing those second chances to happen for someone else. So when around, I forget how old I was here, it was probably a few years ago now, my dad had a heart attack and I hadn't seen my dad since I was 12 years old. And he called me up and he was in the hospital and he said he wanted to see me. So of course, I'm a person that again, I'm not judging him. He was technically a little bit of a stranger, but I wasn't going to not give him that second chance. So I met up with him. He's an artist just like me. He's the one that did this chainsaw carving of a wolf behind there, and he gave me this. This is an eagle. So I gave him one of my drawings of a moose. So we're communicating right now, and we're doing pretty good. Still taking it a little slow just because I want to make sure that my mom's okay with it. But I think it's good. I think it's good that you give second chances. So here I am now at the Dr. George Lee Laboratory. This is where my heart led me. I was very nervous coming here because I was still teaching at Wellington College when I got a call from the university that they needed a teacher. The first time around, I said no, like I'm in the middle of teaching my students and I love my students. I'm like, I can't just leave them. So that went on for a couple of years that I was still teaching at Wellington. And then they called me back. They said, like, we're really needing a teacher for anatomy and you have the experience that we would require. And I was so nervous. I remember coming to the interview and I was just like, I was driving in the car and I was like, Grandma, please just give me a sign that this is something I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I was so nervous about this. And then this semi passes by and on it says driving to your future. And I'm like, okay, I got it. I'm supposed to be doing this. I went forward, I did it. And now it was a little bit of a grueling process because I had to do a dissection exam. Basically, they tell you what to dissect, you do it and they judge it. Then you have an interview, then you have a presentation. So it was a full day type of interview. And that resume that I started off in high school, it grew into now, when you get to universities, they're called CVs, curriculum vitae. So I started at the very beginning and now I have this almost like a binder. And that's what I brought to me for this interview. So now I'm a teacher here. Yeah. And I get to teach a whole bunch of different students. So I feel like I am where I'm supposed to be. I love my job. So when I'm saying you never know what's around the corner, you're in the driver's seat. It's you that's driving it. Even though different passengers may come and go in your back seat or your side seat, you're still driving. And when you make that turn, it could be nothing, but it could be everything. So don't be afraid to make those chances. Don't be afraid to fail. Do it over again. Try, follow your heart. You guys can do it. And I'm living my best life. I love what I do. I love that I teach. And that little girl, that little dog that my grandma gave me, she just turned 17 this February. I still got her. It's my family. And I actually this year purchased my car, that 1965 Mustang, my dream car. So yeah. That's my little story. That's where I am today.